The sun blazes low over the dusty plains of Willow Creek, casting long, honey-colored shadows on a town still pretending the war never ended. Horses clop lazily past weather-worn saloons, and white men tip their hats without ever meeting his eyes. Ezra Booker, a quiet widower with sorrow carved into his brow, steps off the porch of his modest ranch house with a steaming cup of chicory. His hands, broad, callous, and scarred, cradle the mug like it might slip through if he doesn't hold tight. The wind whistles through the cracked slats of the barn, and somewhere in the distance, a hawk cries. He used to wake to his wife humming hymns in the kitchen. Now, silence greets him. Silence, and the echo of what was. Ezra minds his own, keeps to himself, builds fences, breaks horses, tends to his land like a man trying to tame grief. In a town where black men still aren't allowed in the general store after sundown, solitude is safer than pride. But peace doesn't last long in places built on secrets. It starts with whispers. Strange wagons coming in after midnight. Young girls seen peeking through the curtains of the old Blevins' house. A few townsfolk shrug it off. Just family business. They mutter, but Ezra sees the way the local preacher's wife won't meet his eye when she passes by. The way the sheriff turns his head too fast when he walks by the edge of town. Then comes a poster, pinned to a post outside the saloon. Handwritten, sloppy. Auction one fine young woman. Virgin, strong, untamed. Starting bid, $40. Ezra's blood turns to ice. The words sting like a slap. Slavery's been outlawed for decades, but in Willow Creek, law bends like reeds in the wind, especially when it favors white men. The sheriff doesn't flinch when folks joke about owning girls like the good old days. Ezra's heard enough of those jests to know they're more than punchlines. The worst part? No one tears the poster down. Not a soul. He studies it again that afternoon. At the bottom, scribbled in charcoal, presented by Harlan Whitlow. Ezra freezes. Whitlow, that name isn't just familiar, it's infamous. The man used to drink with slave hunters. Ran his wife off a decade ago, claiming she lost her mind. Raises his children like cattle, and now he's selling one. Ezra's grip tightens on his mug until the handle snaps. He doesn't know the girl, doesn't know her name, her voice, her story, but he knows the look of a man who believes he's above justice. And Ezra Booker? He buried his wife, not his conscience. Something is wrong in Willow Creek, and it's about to get worse. The next morning, Ezra rides into town, dust trailing behind his mare like smoke from a slow-burning fire. He doesn't say a word as he ties her outside the feed store, just tips his hat to old Mrs. McCullough, who watches him from behind the window pane like he's dragging trouble on his boots. The poster's gone. Ripped down but not forgotten. In its place is a clean square of pale wood. The ghost of the message still visible in the sunlight, as if the town itself is trying to pretend it never saw. But Ezra saw. He walks past a saloon where laughter rings too loud, too forced. Men sitting around the poker table fall silent when he enters. Conversations die. The air grows heavy. One man, big belly with sweat stains under his arms, mutters something under his breath. Ezra hears it clear. Should have stayed in his lane. Ezra ignores it, orders oats, leaves his coins on the counter without waiting for the change. Outside, a commotion brews near the courthouse steps. A wagon creaks to a halt, horses restless. And from the back, a girl climbs down, barefoot, rail-thin, no older than 19. Her dress hangs off her like it belonged to someone twice her size. Her hair is unkempt, her eyes blank. Hollow, like she's staring through the world. Ezra stops mid-step. That's her. He knows it, feels it in his gut like a storm on the horizon. The girl from the poster. From the courthouse door emerges Harlan Whitlow. Greased hair, gold tooth flashing beneath a smug grin. Thumbs hooked in his belt like he owns everything he sees, including her. Whitlow claps a meaty hand on the girl's shoulder. She flinches. Just a twitch. But Ezra sees it. Don't you clean up nice? Harlan calls to the gathered crowd, chuckling. Strong back on this one. No whining, no backtalk. Ain't that right, darlin'? She doesn't answer, doesn't lift her eyes. Just stands there, trembling, like a cult forced to perform. Ezra feels heat crawl up his spine. He steps forward, slow, watches Whitlow's smile twitch as he notices the black man walking toward his stage. Well, now, Whitlow drawls, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Ain't you a long way from the colored quarter, Booker? Ezra says nothing, just looks at the girl. Her lip is cracked, her wrists bruised. Whitlow steps between them. You eye my property? His grin fades. Careful, Booker. A man can only get away with so much charity in this town before folks start to skin questions. Ezra swallows the rage burning his throat. No use making a scene. Not yet. Instead, he tips his hat just slightly and walks away. But his mind races. He saw the poster. He saw her eyes. And he saw a man who doesn't fear consequence. That girl's not for sale. Not to anyone. Ezra doesn't have proof. But he's about to get it. The girl's name is Lila. Ezra hears it 2 days later, whispered from the lips of Mrs. Freeman, the pastor's wife, as she slips a fresh loaf of bread into his hands with shaking fingers. She's Harlan's, she murmurs. But she ain't his blood. Not really. His wife took her in after her own sister died. That was years ago, back before she disappeared. Ezra doesn't believe in coincidence. He never did. Not when it comes to men like Harlan Whitlow. Men who smile when they say your name, but spit behind your back. Men who have a badge in their pocket, friends in the courthouse, and a noose behind the barn. The next morning, Ezra rides out to the Whitlow ranch. Alone, Lila is in the yard, hanging linens, her arms thin as saplings. She doesn't see him at first, but when she does, she freezes, eyes wide, lips parting like she wants to speak, but has forgotten how. Ezra raises his hands. Slow. I'm not here to scare you, he says, voice low. Just want to make sure you're all right. She doesn't answer, just looks past him to the front porch, where Harlan steps out, shotgun balance easy across his arms like he's done this dance before. Well, now, he calls, descending the steps with that same crooked grin. Didn't expect a visit from the Good Samaritan himself. Ezra stays still. She shouldn't be here. Harlan laughs, low and ugly. She's mine to worry about. You'd best keep to your fence posts, Booker. You start sniff around my affairs, and you might find yourself in a pit you can't dig out of. I saw the poster. What poster? Harlan shrugs. Innocent as a preacher on Sunday. You mean that old joke someone tacked up? Drunk foolin'. Sheriff had it taken down soon as he saw it. Don't tell me you're the type to believe gossip. Ezra's jaw clenches. Gossip don't leave bruises. A flicker of danger passes through Harlan's eyes. For a moment, just one, his smile fades, and something darker slips through. Then it's gone. He chuckles, steps closer. Tell you what, he murmurs. I'll let that one slide, on account of your loss. But next time you come poking around my land, I'll have the sheriff haul you in for trespassing. Or worse. Ezra turns without another word, but his mind is burning. That night, he rides to the edge of town, where the old stable hand, Otis, lives alone in a shack full of whiskey bottles and war stories. Otis served under Ezra's father, fought beside him, trusted him, and he used to work for Whitlow. Lila's mama didn't disappear. Otis says, after a long silence, she tried to take the girl and run. Harlan caught her. Next day, he told folks she wandered off into the hills. But I saw the blood on his hands. Ezra saw him bury something behind the barn. Ezra's stomach turns. Why didn't you say anything? Who'd believe me? Otis mutters, bitter. A black man with no land, no voice, and no law behind him? Ezra stares into the fire. The rules in Willow Creek were written by men like Harlan, but rules can be broken, especially when they're built on silence. He starts gathering names. Folks who've seen Lila's bruises, heard her cries, people too scared to speak until someone give them permission, because one voice alone is dangerous. But many? That's justice knocking. The town square is unusually crowded for a Wednesday. A crowd gathers like vultures circling a fresh carcass, some out of curiosity, others out of habit. Men lean against porch rails. Women clutch parasols with tight knuckles. The sheriff stands off to the side, arms crossed, eyes watching everything and nothing. And right at the center, Harlan Whitlow struts like he owns the ground beneath his boots. "I hear someone's been spreading tales," he calls out, voice loud and syrup thick, accusing a hard-working man of, what was it, trafficking? Abuse. Chuckles ripple through the crowd. He's playing it up, like it's all a bad joke. Ezra stands still across from him, posture calm, hands at his sides. Behind him, Otis steps forward, limping but steady. Beside him, Mrs. Freeman wrings her hands, eyes wide but determined. Then two teenage boys, one of whom works at the Whitlow Ranch, push through the crowd, exchanging nervous glances. They've all come. Quiet folks who spent years with their heads down. Until today. "You got something to say, Booker?" Harlan sneers. "Come on then. Let's hear it. Tell the whole town how I'm the devil incarnate." Ezra doesn't move. He waits. "I've worked this land longer than you've been alive," Harlan spits. "You think this crowd gonna take your word over mine? A washed-up rancher with a dead wife and a bleeding heart? Hell, I could buy your whole spread tomorrow and sell it for firewood." Still, Ezra says nothing. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a bundle, papers, photos, and one long, yellowed letter. "What's this?" Harlan scoffs, snatching it from Ezra's hand with mock flair. His eyes skim the top page, and his smirk falters. Sheriff Collins shifts his stance. The crowd leans in. Ezra finally speaks. "That's a sworn statement from Otis. Says he saw you bury something behind your barn the night Lila's mother went missing. That blood wasn't from no fox." More murmurs. Harlan snorts. "A drunk stable-hand's word? Please." Ezra lifts the second page. "This one's from your old maid, Miss Duella. She cleaned Lila's wounds more times than she can count. She saw you drag that girl by her hair. Called the sheriff. He never came." Harlan's face darkens. "And this," Ezra says, unfolding the final paper, "is a copy of a transaction, signed by your cousin, showing you leased Lila to a man 2 towns over for a full week. That man's willing to testify, under oath, what you offered him, and what she begged him not to do." Gasps slice through the crowd like wind through wheat. "You lying son of a—" Harlan lunges forward, red-faced. But the sheriff steps in now, slow and quiet. "I got no choice but to look into this, Harlan. It's too much to ignore. I own this town." Harlan bellows, eyes wild. "You think I'm going to fall because some black rancher and a few scared nobodies got bold?" Ezra steps close, his voice soft, steady. "You already fell. You just don't know it yet." The crowd watches in silence. For the first time, Harlan looks small, cornered, afraid. Harlan's voice cracks as he shouts at the sheriff, spit flying from his mouth. "You can't do this. I built this town. My daddy, he helped put that badge on your chest." Sheriff Collins doesn't flinch. He's pale beneath his tan, lips thin. The crowd watches him like he's a needle on a compass, waiting to see which way justice will point. But it's Ezra who moves first. He raises his hand, signaling toward the alley behind the general store. And then she steps out. Lila, hair brushed, clothes clean, a shallow cut healing on her cheek. Her eyes still hold shadows, but they're focused now, burning with something new. Strength. Gasps ripple through the square. "Lila," Ezra says gently, "you don't have to speak if you're not ready, but they need to see you." She swallows, glances at Harlan, who stares at her like he's seen a ghost. She steps forward anyway. "You said my mama left," she says, voice trembling. "You told everyone she just ran off." Harlan stiffens. "Don't you?" "She didn't." Lila says louder, "I saw you hit her. I saw you drag her behind the barn. I heard her beg you not to." Whispers swell like waves breaking on rock. The sheriff looks at Harlan. "You told us she vanished during a storm." "She did." Harlan barks. "She was crazy. She was taking that girl to God knows where. She wasn't safe. I did what any man would do." Lila flinches. Ezra steps forward again. "Dig behind the barn," he says. Otis marked the place. "Sheriff, you dig there, you'll find her. Bones. Wedding ring. Maybe even the locket Lila described. Collins hesitates, then nods to his deputies. Two of them break off from the crowd, already turning toward the Whitlow property. No, no, this ain't right. Harlan yells, spinning around. You're going to take their word over mine? After all I've done for this town. And then comes the final blow. Ezra pulls a small, wind-up tape recorder from his pocket and presses play. Harlan's voice spills out. Strong back on this one. No whining. No backtalk. Ain't that right, darling? The crowd freezes. Ezra looks up. One of the farmhands recorded it. Said he couldn't sleep after hearing what you said. Thought the world ought to know what kind of man you really are. Harlan's mouth opens, but nothing comes out. His power evaporates like morning fog. Men who once laughed at his jokes now stare at the ground. Women whisper to each other. The pastor's wife pulls her shawl tighter. The sheriff nods slowly. You're under arrest for unlawful detainment, abuse, and obstruction. And if what we dig up confirms arrest... He doesn't finish. He doesn't need to. Two deputies move to cuff Harlan, who jerks back, tries to run, but it's no use. He trips, falls, lands hard in the dirt where Ezra first stood. The man who once ruled the town is now crawling. Ezra watches in silence, the weight of years pressing against his shoulders and finally lifting. Lila reaches out and takes his hand. And the town, Willow Creek, watches as one era ends. And something new begins that it rains on the day they dig up the truth. Cold, steady drops fall as deputies unearth the shallow grave behind the Whitlow barn. A ring still clings to brittle bone, inscribed with the initials M.W., Lila's mother. Murdered, silenced, hidden for years behind a fence no one dared to question. But now silence is shattered. Harlan Whitlow is dragged to the courthouse in chains, his face bruised, not from fists, but from humiliation. The man who used to tip his hat, with smug certainty, now can't meet anyone's eye. His trial is swift. A parade of witnesses speak. Otis, with fire in his belly. Lila, voice trembling but strong. And Ezra, steady as stone, the man who lit the match. The verdict comes in under 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Abuse, trafficking, murder. The courtroom gasps. Harlan doesn't move. He just stares hollow at the floor like he's still trying to figure out how it all crumbled. His estate is seized. His ranch put up for auction. His name stripped from plaque outside the town hall. The empire he built on fear and skin and silence? Gone. And Willow Creek feels it. The change. Folks start to talk differently. Slower, softer, like they're tasting honesty for the first time. The pastor's sermon turned from politics to penance. The sheriff starts showing up where he's needed, not just where he's paid to be. Even the old general store hangs a new sign in the window. All welcome here. No exceptions. Still, Ezra keeps to his routines. Feeding the horses, fixing the porch rail. Mornings come early, and grief doesn't disappear overnight. His wife's voice still echoes in quiet corners of the ranch house. But something's shifted. He's not alone anymore. Lila now lives in a small guest room, where sunlight filters through lace curtains. She's still healing, still waking up some nights in a sweat. But she's safe. She works the land beside Ezra, shoulder to shoulder, stronger with each sunrise. One evening, as dusk settles in like lavender smoke, she brings him a worn envelope. What's this? Ezra asks, wiping dirt from his hands. It's hers, Lila says. My mama's letter. She wrote it the night she tried to leave. I found it tucked inside a hollow floorboard. Thought you should read it. Ezra opens it slowly. The handwriting is shaky but clear. If anyone ever finds this, please protect my daughter. She's kind. Too kind. And he's not who he pretends to be. If I don't make it, promise me someone will love her better than I could in this broken world. Ezra swallows hard. The words sting. Not because they hurt, but because they matter. He looks up at Lila. You're safe now, he says. She nods. I know. And as the sun dips behind the hills, casting golden shadows over Ezra's porch, the past finally settles. Justice wasn't just served in court. It was carved into the soul of Willow Creek, a place where fear once ruled, now reclaimed by truth, and by two people who found each other in the wreckage and rebuilt something worth living for.